Boom, we're live. All right, guys, I've got Donnie Driggers with Exacta here, and Donnie Driggers got a list of really cool things that he does that when you hear it, you might be like, oh, what is that? Oh, I don't know what that is either, right? So I thought we'd bring him on because what he does is really helpful. It's really beneficial, and it's absolutely critical, not just in the middle of a real estate transaction, but in a lot of scenarios, right? So, Donnie, correct me if I'm wrong. You do surveys, you do lien searches, you take care of estoppels, right?
Yes,
he's an Uber driver. No, he's not an Uber driver, folks. He's not an Uber driver. But he might have he does everything else. So let's start with estoppels. That's a word a lot of people haven't even heard of. What the heck is an estoppel, and what do you do with it? What's your position in the process?
Estoppel is another way to just protect yourself. It goes pretty hand in hand with your standard lien search, where we're going to take a look at your taxes for the past 3 years, your permitting issues. We're going to make sure everything's cleaned and closed out. We don't want to leave you expired, or you got a buyer that goes out and doesn't get the search done, finds out, hey, I want to make an improvement. We got a lot of downtime right now with the virus and everything going on. So, hey, I want to put up a fence. Well, goes to pull a permit to get that fence, and what happens? Well, you got about $300+ or it could be any ballpark amount of money there for an expired permit with daily accruing interest on there. You might find yourself in a little bit of an issue just trying to get that new fence. You might have to pay for somebody else's mess up before you even open that permit. Wow. An estoppel covers the same thing. If you're in an HOA or a COA, we're just going to make sure that your dues are paid up, any payoff requests are taken care of. Everything's going to be clean on that, so that you're not stepping in and taking care of somebody else's mess. And if you are, it's going to be handled ahead of time. You're going to be aware of it, and you're going to know what's exactly yours. Same with the survey side. Know your boundaries. Right now, it's really wild with the refis and everyone going cash deals or just refinancing to get a better price right now. I know that you're dealing with it too directly. I know that you and I talk about it. The refis are crazy. Not everyone during a refi is going to go and get a new updated survey. They might have an old one on file that they feel that no changes have been made. They might not know. So right now we're just looking and trying to educate people to actually protect their buyers. A lot of people assume that title insurance protects them from the survey related issues. And unfortunately, that is not the case at all. Structural encroachments, anything over a public utility easement. I mean, we've had situations where people have had pools go back and get a survey. Well, they never had anywhere that pool. We've had examples where pools have been taken out, filled back in, regular permits pulled. Maybe it's a public utility easement or a boundary, and they're taking it out and having to restart the process after that survey.
Man, that would suck.
It's not going to be fun, and sometimes you're the bearer of bad news, and sometimes it could be as simple as a neighbor having something on your property that you feel is not theirs. And in those situations, we recommend you knock on your neighbor's door first and try and ease into there. We do think you should get your survey so you know exactly what's yours, but there's better routes to take than court all the time when it comes to a neighborly dispute. So first and foremost, we always recommend that you be kind to your neighbor. Go over there, figure it out, work out a resolution, and if not, then hey, at least you know what is yours or what isn't. So you definitely staying protected.
So when you go to sell, a lot of times you got to get a survey. But what are some situations where I might want to get a survey without selling?
Exactly, a fence. You want to put up a fence. You need to know your boundaries right then and there, so you're not stepping into Sally, Sue, Joe's, anybody's yard right there. You want to be over any PUEs, which is a public utility easement. I can't tell you this right now. They're going to just dig it up. They're going to take it out. They're going to leave you with a tough luck. Yeah. It's on you. You put it on their rights. They're going to take it out, and they're going to say, deal with it.
Yeah. I just had one. We closed probably 3-4 weeks ago, and everything went smoothly. Inspection went smoothly. And then we came back with the survey, and we found out that they had built this big, beautiful pool, but they went right over the city. It was either the city or the county's easement to be able to get to the back of the yard, right? So then we had to negotiate, like, what's that worth? Are we going to rip it up? Are we going to take the risk? Are we going to? And you know what they did, who cares? But the important thing is it's knowing that you can make the choice beforehand. You can take the risk, not take the risk, try to negotiate, not try to negotiate, but it's just knowing up front. You're literally buying insurance. It's physical insurance.
No,
So
you're exactly right.
What is a 10,000 square foot lot survey? What's something like that run?
So it'll all differentiate, and it's going to be the majority of the time it's going to deal with any kind of complexities or acreage. Let's say something's over an acre. Typically what you're going to see around Port St. Lucie or the Treasure Coast for the majority of the time is going to be a typical standard lot and block. It's going to have a platted subdivision in there that we can go and base off of their initial drawings. We can find our control, get your boundary, find all your property corners, make sure that everything's tight. Typically around there, I mean, prices do vary depending. Like I said, we're very competitive, right around the 300 range. So
okay, it's not too bad.
Anywhere in the 300s. And then we also do the elevation certificates that we'll be happy to add on as well. If you are in a flood zone, it's great to have that elevation certificate, because you're going to find out later that when that flood insurance time comes, you're in an X zone, you're going to be pretty clear. You're not going to need anything. If you're in an A, B, or anything else that anybody out there wants to reach out, if you're in question, feel free. You're gonna pay a little more, but it's nice to have that on file. And if somebody is paying more and maybe a zone has changed, give them a break on money. So deciding factors that can come in and add to the price on a survey would be meets and bounds legal description. Those are not fun, but I think we all know about the sectional.
What's meets and bounds? Explain what meets and bounds is.
So meets and bounds we have to do a lot more work. It's going to take longer in the field. To put down in simplicity, a meets and bounds survey is just going to read different. It's going to take more time for our crew to go through. It's going to be might have something to do with X amount of feet on the lot beside it, or a partial piece of that. Whereas a sectional, that's even more of a pain in the butt. We're going to have to go out and try and collect property corners. It basically, if you read when you get a sectional, you're just going to read minutes, seconds, hourly, just crazy degrees on your searches. Something that we reach out to our field crews in advance. If you ever need a quote, we'll get it handled and make sure that you're not stepping into the unknown, thinking that you're going to pay in the 300s and then you step into $500 land and what's the deal. So we like to be upfront, be realistic, be competitive in pricing, but what you're going to get before you give us the approval or the nod to go ahead and proceed with that property.
So I've got a good, it ended well, but it started bad. Survey story. This is when I sold up in Minnesota, and I had a couple in Sauk Rapids, Minnesota. They bought a little house. Now it's a little bit different here, right? Like here, almost everybody gets a survey. Up in Minnesota, if you're in a city, almost nobody gets a survey unless you've got acreage or you're out in the sticks, something like that, right? So we were at the home and they said, do we get a survey? And I gave them my typical response, like, here are the risks if you don't. Here is what everybody does. It's your choice. You do what you want to do. And they said, no, I don't want to get one. Okay, cool. So they got the home and what did they want to do? I think they were putting up a fence. And when they were putting up a fence, they had to get the survey done. And when they got the survey done, they found out that their garage was like inches over their line onto their neighbor's line. And they were like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a train wreck when we go to sell. Now, they had a good relationship, luckily. I mean, this was probably a year or two down the road. They instantly called me and said, what do we do? I said, listen, we got a lot of options here. Just settle down. So luckily, they had a good relationship. So we went over next door. I went over next door. They sent me over as the bad guy. And I told them exactly what happened. And I said, listen, I don't know what the options are, but would you guys be willing to, sell them that little bit of land so that it makes everything kosher? And, is it a big deal to you guys? And they're like, no, that's not a big deal. What's that even worth? I said, well, what's it worth? You can negotiate that 15 different ways. I said, but let me go talk to the title company. and see if that insurance policy will cover. Well, luckily that insurance policy covered that. So they ended up getting it covered. And I don't remember what they negotiated. It was like $2,000-3,000 and they sold them that. And it wasn't a big deal. Right. And then they had to pay for all the drawings to be done and submitted and recorded. But can you imagine if they didn't have that relationship, if those neighbors wanted to be a pain in the butt, it could have been monstrous, man. If not for money, because they had that coverage, for time, for the relationship, for a million other things. So, you know, I understand every insurance costs money. That's the negative, which again, a survey is literally that, insurance. But holy smokes, when you need it, are you glad you've got it? And when you don't, you're bumming, man.
You're 100% correct. Nailed it out of the ballpark with that as well. And when for purchasing a home, this is some people, if not everyone, on their first home, biggest decision in their life.
Yep.
You're going to let a couple $100 stand in the way of protecting yourself down the line when you go to sell, maybe 4 or 5 years later at least.
Yeah.
You realize, hey, I have all these problems. I don't know if I'm even going to make money. I might bankrupt on it. And what do I do next? I'll tell you, the one thing you're not going to do is skimp out on that survey again.
No. So you've done a million of these. You've got to have 1 or 2 pretty good survey stories, lien search stories, something that's entertaining, funny, but also tells us why we need Donnie.
So many of them come in many different ways, as we talked about: pools, fences, any improvements on a property. It could be a driveway apron sitting on somebody else's property, which we still do that down here as well. So don't, people pour that concrete, make that little button apron at the end, and boom, that could be enough right then and there, or the shrubs on the corner. So we have a lot of the stories where you hear the funny disputes, and everyone tries to stay out of those as much as you can, but ultimately somebody needs a product, you deliver it. Lien searches have to be some of the craziest things you can dig up and find on those that are just come out of the woodworks, whether recorded or unrecorded. When you dig those up, we've come across some funny stuff. There's been code enforcement violations for, person on the corner just not mowing the lawn, might own the property, going to sell it. They live out of state. They come back down thinking everything's all gravy. They go to sell. Maybe they do make that transaction. Person doesn't get the lien search on it. A couple grand in lawn mowing. I mean, that's as simple as that. I mean, you figure it out like that. I mean, it's not so necessarily funny, but these are things that happen on a daily basis that aren't taken care of over the simplest feet. So protect yourselves, get the lien search, get the estoppel, whether you're doing it on your own or reaching out to a licensed professional or anyone that's actually digging in there and really getting to it. Make sure that you're getting all angles covered. On the lawn mowings, you're going to have that. You're going to have somebody might just have a sore eyesight. They might have had their hurricane shutters on for 3 years. Yeah. Been coming around, knocking on that door. Well, you're going to find out soon when you come that way as well. Funny story, when I first moved down here, the first week in my home, the hurricane shutters were left up. It didn't even take 3 days before I had that knock on my door, threatening that money is going to be paid by the next time I drive around.
Yeah, welcome.
Welcome to Florida. Now go sweat and take these down.
I love it.
I
love it.
So I mean, there's structure within easements. There's Ingress, Egress issues, building line violations.
What's Ingress? What's Egress?
You're gonna have Ingress and Egress. It's anything. You're gonna have stuff that's coming up over your property lines. It's kind of the same thing. It's structural encroachments and adjoining parcels, or parcels that are actually from your neighbor. I mean, your neighbor's adjoining parcel could be sitting on top of yours and you not know it until you get that survey done. A lot of times, 9 times out of 10, I know I'm beating this like a stick, but disputes are the pain in the butt because of that, period. We've had companies that have threatened to sue, we've had clients that have come to us that have threatened to sue other companies because one neighbor gets their survey done. Next neighbor goes out there, talks to the same field crew, tries to coax them into saying something different to benefit their side of the property.
Sure.
Then both that survey companies out the window. You have 2 really tough neighbors with no resolution still. So do your homework out there, reach out to the right people, have a conversation, call, get the questions answered. Even if you're not looking for, you know, a particular company, if you have questions, concerns, and it's not with us at Exacta, I'm here to be your helper. I'll steer you in the right way, give you the things you need to know to weigh out a smart decision to cover your own butt.
Can you explain what an easement and an encroachment are?
So you're going to have a lot of, so your utility easements are going to be out there. So let's say you have XYZ company, you have it up in your front, they have part of the sidewalk and anything, you know, within a certain line of your property. That's going to give that utility company or anyone to come out there access to dig that up. So we're looking to not put stuff on those points of the property. How do you know that? The survey.
Yeah.
You're going to see situations like that 9 times out of 10 when it comes down to the disputes, like I said, but it could be even something you might buy property, and we've had it come up where there's been property behind it with a ton of trees. Well, a logging company might own the rights to take out those trees that needed, and that's something that'll slip in there too. So it's such a wide array of instruments and just
different,
theory that'll put it out. We're not a drone company. We won't do that. We get our field crews out there. We mark the corners. We flag everything for you. Take the pictures to prove that, because how many times has that angry neighbor or the landscaper comes through and hits it with the weed whacker? We'll back our stuff up and go out, reflag if you need to, make sure that we have everything marked and proven with pictures.
So a lot of agents, real estate agents, they get a deal done, they bring it to title, and title just does a bunch of magic that nobody really knows what happens, and eventually the property closes, right? That's kind of how it works. You're part of that magic in the background, and as an agent, or as the seller, as the buyer, we can choose who we want doing the surveys, who we want doing the lien searches. How would people reach out and find you in those situations? Where can they contact you at?
So you can always contact me directly, by email, DonnieD@exactalien.com. It's going to sound like or look like, it's going to read like Exact Alien. I'm on a different planet when it comes to this. So. You can reach out to there. You can go to exactaland.com. You can always find me on Indeed, Facebook at Exacta's Donnie Driggers. I'm always ready to roll, answer questions on there. If you want to reach out to anybody in the Port St. Lucie networking group, that's led by one of the top dogs here, Joe himself. I'm ready to get there. Stay fired up. Stay ready to rock.
Yeah, baby.
But mostly just reach out to me directly. I can place my phone number in the comments there. And
I don't remember if we have in the comments or not, but I'll certainly put your card down in the comments. What is Indeed? I've heard it a million times, but I'm definitely an old man in a rocking chair when it comes to Indeed. What is that? LinkedIn. We will use Indeed. I'm sorry. I think I misspoke on that and confused you there. I don't even care about that. I want to know what Indeed is. What's Indeed? I think Indeed's a whole different platform for searching for jobs and organizations. Maybe. Oh, really? So I think Indeed is more of a search. I gotta look it up now. Yeah, it's a job search engine. Job search.
But don't look for me on there. Look for me on LinkedIn, Facebook, LinkedIn, Alignable. I am on Alignable too. One thing, Alignable is great. It's a very good recommendation tool. Take a look into that as well. Yep. It's something. It is similar to Yelp. You leave great reviews. You go in there. You can connect with business similar to the way you can in LinkedIn. Just a little bit of a different platform. Very results driven and referral based. Got a lot of recommendations there. If you're highly recommended on there, other people can see you in the network. It's just a little bit of an older version of what goes on with the Indeed platform now. LinkedIn platform. So,
yeah. So we got a question here. Do you work in Palm Beach County too?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
What's your north and south limits? Where do you work?
We cover the whole state. If I'm not covering in your area, but I do cover Palm Beach. We cover the whole state of Florida. If I can't serve you in my area, reach out to me. I can make sure that you have a rep, whether it's Tampa, Jacksonville, Miami. We're covering it. we got it all. I'll personally get out there, meet with you, do what I have to do, put you in touch with the right people, but we cover the whole state. We have all of our own field crews from in-house. We just get it done. We're also in multiple states, so we do cover in Ohio, Illinois, Texas, DC, Maryland, Virginia.
Man.
Yeah, so yeah, it's starting to go down national level on the lien searches. So if something comes in and you have questions as far as a mortgage satisfaction or any kind of stuff like that we can get into the system or take a different angle to make your life easier, we're willing to work on it. We'll figure out a way to get it done, and we'll get you affordable pricing to do so.
That's awesome. Well, again, I really appreciate having you on, my man. If you guys are on Facebook, as soon as I get off here, I'll go back to the video and I'll add his business card down in the comments so you guys can check him out. But Donnie, again, I really appreciate it. And we are so blessed to have you in our group. I really appreciate it, man. Oh, we got one more here. We got one more. Oh, boy. You're getting a little hell here, but that's all right.
Who's coming in?
Jeff Register? Can Donnie survey how far I can hit a golf ball like we did on Thursday?
Oh, there he is, mortgage loan operator himself.
You know Jeff. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Dude, Jeff is runner.
Jeff is the one I can survey how far I can hit one, that's for darn sure, but I might need a little bit of assistance for Jeff. I think he put
more meets and bounds.
10 different par 4 damn near hitting the green. So
all right, buddy. Well, again, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. You have a phenomenal week, my friend.
Hey, Joe, you as well. I appreciate you, brother. I will see you soon. And hey, if you guys haven't looked at it yet, go check out the Port St. Lucie networking group. Check us out at Exacta. Make sure you're hitting Joe up with the EXP team and the Joe Rosen show. Congrats on over 1K just recently.
Thanks,
Keep it rolling.
I appreciate it, my man. Have a good one.
You too, brother.